Hi, it's Grandpa Butler. What we're going to do today, I have a photograph in front of me of a mountain scene. And what we've been doing the last 7 months is pen and ink of something that we're interested in. Then we colored it and then we put in a background with our watercolor crayons. Lately, what we've done is gone back to paying more attention to background, see if we can get without too much effort, some more of an impressionistic whole here to our photograph. So this is an attempt this morning. But what you can see, what I've done is I've put in the lake and sky with the crayon mostly horizontally, and now I'll touch them up. I'm going to put in sky here. Sunrise will be coming up from the right, shadows will be going to the left. And the only thing I've done in pen and ink is the logs, wonderful logs we usually don't notice so much, but they are just kind of gorgeous, multicolored things that mark trails up on these canyons, these lakes like this one. Crayons here, going to use all kinds of greens here for trees, for the riversides and stuff. I'm going to use English red ochre and this brighter red here. And for the clouds, I'll use this bright yellow and this whatever red this is here. Okay, so let's do start with the clouds and see how things go from there. We're going to have some trees in here. So so here's some clouds, getting some sun here. And I don't know if those that are closest to the sun get more red or not. I should have checked that out here before we started this. That's okay. And there's some clouds there. So let's touch up our sky here. So pigment here, normally we just kind of leave the pigment in there as part of the picture. We're going kind of an impressionist way today. And I'll bring some of that blue into the clouds there. We're going for a kind of clear cloud look here on at least that one side there. Okay. And there'll be a tree where this line is going up here. And there's the sun hitting there. Okay. And we'll pull a little bit of yellow towards the back here. Okay. I don't know what kind of red it is, but the pigment here is a little slow to cooperate with me, but I think I'm done with that. Now for our mountains here. Coming down here, we have snow on here. So I find that not only the pandemic, COVID period here, but I find in art that the full century of experience of being with other people, of being able to interact with them is kind of different than just trying to reconstruct things in one's imagination. So that the lesson here is that it's kind of almost always better to work from a photograph. or some explicit. So here's a tree line coming up there. Okay, lots of mountainside, and we'll just have that coming down into there. Kind of simplifying some of that here. Now, there's also some dark blue here along the edges and along some of the slopes. So we're going to leave some of it with neither blue nor red. That'll be our white snowfields here, of which there are quite a few here in the pictures. Okay. And some snowfields there. Maybe a little bit of mountain air. I'm thinking that these blues and reds will mix together well. Since the sun's coming more from the outside, I'd expect more darker blues on the left. And so now that I just thought about that, I will do it and pretend that I was planning to do that all along, just so you know. Kind of like research. Sometimes we just get surprised by what we find. That's why we do it. But it's good to have some structure, right? Some constraints in terms of what we can do in science. So here we have letting those reds and that blue mix together, and they're working kind of just as well as I imagine they might. We're going to bring some of the blues along here as kind of shadows. Like in there and there. And some will be exposed ridges. Okay. So you imagine that, you see it, you understand what needs to be done. You still have to do it, right? It still takes time. So let's work on our logs for a second in our foreground here. So we're having a trail here go around the lake. And on the other side of the lake, we have these kind of dried up fields here. And maybe over here we'll have some snowbanks. I'm making them a bit bigger than they appear in the picture, but that's okay. Maybe we should have a little snow here in the shape of the picture. It's quite dark. And high up in the mountains, sometimes these snowbanks near the lakes never really disappear, as you know if you've been up there. So in these old logs, we'll have some of that ochre reflected red here and there, and of course, some English red, both in the logs and here and there on the trails. Could be stones, could be treasures left by the Incas as they passed through the Rocky Mountains on their way to the North Pole, early expeditions. Just saying, maybe, right? Okay, so kind of got our logs in. Let's light them up a little bit and then go back and do tree lines next to the mountains here. ochre's just a wonderful kind of color to work with any chance you get a chance to work with it. There we go. Now we'll dab these rocks here and do our logs. Kind of dab, stroke, kind of a combination. You don't want them to be just one color. You want them to be, as they are, just fun shades of brown, reds, and yellows sitting on the roadside. Okay, and that's okay. So trees here, we always end up spending too much time on. And my girlfriend now of 50 years, and 50 years, and wife of 49 and a half of those years, reminds me that, I don't want to spend all my time doing every needle in the forest. So we're going to kind of do up and down lines here, and strokes along here for the bottoms of the trees. And then to get the trees themselves, we're going to use a couple of lighter shades of green on the sunny side here. So we'll come down like this, working our way down here, and stroking together. Okay, Grandpa, rest your elbow on something so you don't get shaking too bad here. Okay, and there's a couple of them down here, smaller ones, and a few shades of a darker green on one side, maybe here and there in the background towards the top, and then some lighter greens kind of on the other side of trees here. So this is a representation of forest here. Okay, now on the other side here, we might have some of this light green towards the top, where a few are in the sunshine. Most of them will be pretty dark. So we're going to do mostly pretty dark up and down lines here. A little bit of a triangular shapes as we go down here and there, as we try and kind of indicate the impression of a forest. And we're going to have some pretty dark stuff there. So. Okay, so there's kind of our forest line. So come along here. A lot of dabbing. I don't want these colors all to run together. In fact, I can dab an extra tree or two between the other ones that we have actually colored in. So when we do watercolor crayons, it's kind of like doing art in color and then coming back and trying having another layer of subtlety with the strokes of our brush here. I'm using this kind of travel brush here. It's very convenient to take on trips, but any kind of watercolor brush will do with these crayons. It's just what I've found convenient since I've taken this up the last less than a year. Okay. And and then we're going to have some dark. Might even put these ones in here in green and the sun. Like over here, I'll have a few green branches coming off here and there. But otherwise, maybe I'll do them all dark blue. Is that? Then the lake. We'll come back and get our dark trees here. And I could have gotten my ink out and done a very explicit line for the shoreline. And in effect, that's what we often do. Seems to me, as I've seen all the brilliant artists on YouTube do their stuff. Okay. This is some white gouache. Where the snow was brightest here, but I would put it into this blue here maybe. Line it up as if it's part of the reflection there. And maybe especially around our little sign here. Okay, speaking of our little sign, put that in an English red kind of tint there, and I'll come back and color that in a minute. Okay, so you have the trees over here and the foreground right in there. Okay, so looking at it for a second, I thought I'd bring some of this color up here down into the lake, so I just dipped my brush and got some of those greens down into here. But I also think maybe I could bring some more of the whites from the mountain in here, and that would be a kind of nice touch. Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, so we have the tree. Why don't I save the trees and these shadows areas last? What this is here is a bunch of small ground blooms here, some red blooms, and some dirt, and a few small kind of bushes here, so we'll have those coming up like that. Probably more efficient to do it separately. These over here will be kind of some of the same in the foreground here, maybe some really bright ones that are shadowed. And then in the background, some darker in the shade grasses that we'll just do kind of up and down like that. The really green stuff is in the sunlight, and this darker stuff is shaded. Okay, so let's touch that up and see where we're at. Okay, so again, with these watercolors, it's when you're working in these colorful areas with lots of different things going on, it's probably always better to dab in the water than to smear too much, because then you get it all mixed up and it's not quite as colorful. So I guess it's, well, we're finding this out, right, as we do this together, as we mix these colors and try our experiments here. Okay, so the last things we need to do is get in the tree here in the shade. So I think raw umber for shaded areas will be a good generic thing. How about trees? This looks like a kind of dark green color, so let's just come down here. And have it going up to the edge and off the picture here. Now, as my girlfriend grandma likes to say, maybe you're spending too much time on that tree, and in this case she'd be right here. Maybe there's another tree right in there. Oh, I did put another line, but it's a little closer. It's okay. And maybe as part of the trunk here. So when we do it here, you can still see some trunk in here. Maybe a few branches here and there with some of this red. Okay. Okay, let's see if that looks good enough, and then we'll probably wrap it up, right? I think, just don't get too flustered. Keep trying different things. And if it's, so Grandpa's continues to try and work on discovering a style, a way of doing this. But maybe if you find your style faster than Grandpa did, and just start painting quickly. And where's our raw umber at? Don't want to lose that. So we have trees coming over this way, going across the logs here, and across the log here, and into this area, and into that area. And we'll say there's some more trees out here that we're not seeing. And there's shadowing in here. And on top of our plants here. And maybe that's enough. Although, if it is near sunrise, the shadows probably extend all the way across here, like so. Okay, well, let's lighten up those shadows. Maybe put, instead of, we didn't do a line, but maybe we can put a little bit of this dark shadowy stuff over here, and that one kind of represents the shadows on this side of the shore. And maybe hints of shadows coming around here. Okay, it looks like it'll be richer if we do that. Okay. One of the things there's kind of, different art has its different magic, and watercolors is when you are surprised when colors merge together, but beware, right? You get too many colors merged together and it's always a gray, lackluster gray, so do them two at a time and work that out. Okay, I think I'm happy enough with this. We'll light up our shadow over here. And snowbanks over there, I think we can leave where they're at. Hey, thanks a lot for watching. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.